I'm going to a location in Marquette County. This is where I've had the most activity of any place in Michigan. Where my son had his face-to-face encounter. I've seen a glimpse of one through a thermal, log thrown at me, trees pushed down, tracks, just all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be a gated off 2-track. I'm going to have to mountain bike back in. And it's going to be a lot of blow down trees on the 2-track, so it'll be slow going, but it's only about a little over a mile back in, I think. So, but this is the one spot. This is about a 3 square mile area where we've done a lot of research years ago, BFRO expeditions. This is my very first BFRO expedition, but at the end of this particular 2-track is the only place where I just get a very uneasy feeling, like I shouldn't be there. So we're gonna go out here and spend the night, see what happens. This area here, I'm guessing this whole thing was an old farmstead. These are all apple trees. That's really growing up right now. This never used to be posted private property, but it is now, so we're going to respect that. Over here is the first place I ever seen eye glow. Eye shine, I call it eye shine, but the old apple trees are just loaded right now. There's usually a lot of bear activity here with the apples. Wow. I can't get over how much that pine tree over there, that one there, it was about 1 in the morning. Me and a guy named Steve from Iowa were walking down this road, and all this thick stuff here was not here. It was a clear shot to that pine tree. So I'm standing here. I had to pee, so I was standing here peeing, facing that pine tree, and I seen what looked like a light. It was an overcast night. I mean, there's nothing or anywhere around right here. And I'm watching this, and I bring it to Steve. I'm like, what would there be a light on over there? And it blinked, and blinked again. I had a rudimentary Gen 1 night vision with me, and had the illuminator on it, so I hit it, and it lit up like a reflector. And that's when I realized it was an eye, a very large eye. It was on the other side of that pine tree, about 8 feet up, peeking through the branches. And we stood here for 20 minutes watching it watch us. And finally walked back, but first place I ever seen eye shine right there. It was peeking about 8 feet up through the boughs of that pine tree. Over here, we just call it the orchard. We call both sides the orchard. That side over there has an old stone wall where there probably used to be a house. But get down in the gully here, and we had set up camp. This is 2008, 9, 10. We did about 3 different expeditions out here. Actually, there was 4. 2007 was the first one. But one of those years, it all runs together so long ago, but a gal named Pam had her tent set up farthest to the woods back in there. It turns into a swamp right there. And her tent was away from everybody else. And she heard this clicking noise, and she watched this light tracing her tent from the outside. And it sounded like, the only thing she could describe it as the movie Signs, where you had the aliens, that clicking sound. She said it sounded just like that. So traced her tent. She finally got on the radio and called another expedition member named Bernie, and when she did that, it just stopped. And right through that woods there is where my son had his face-to-face encounter. And we'll go visit that area here in a minute. Always an interesting thing to see that in a active area. So we're at the 2-track trailhead. Actually, 2 vehicles have gone by here. There used to be no traffic on this road. So, it is gated off. This 2-track they're letting it just grow in. Eventually it'll just vanish. So I already see one tree down up there. So we used to keep this cleared out with the chainsaw, but it's an all-day endeavor, and it's just every year. So we will park here. And check out the area. Actually, we'll pop the mountain bike off the truck and buzz around on that real quick. Alright, the truck is over there. This used to be just a little 2-track that just ducked into the woods and stopped. And it would kind of look like somebody has blocked this off. I got the bike out, we're just pedaling around. This is where my son had his face-to-face encounter. It would have been 2008. So we set our tents up here. This is all the farther the 2-track goes in. I think it was right over here. We set our tents up. And we were just checking out the area back through there. At that time, there was stick structures all over the place in here. Teepees, the most intricate ones I've ever seen. About 3 years ago, I came through here and I spent an entire day wandering these woods, and I didn't find anything. They're all gone. That's a problem with doing public expeditions. I think it puts pressure and they leave. So it's going to be next to impossible for me to figure out exactly where it happened at, because it's just so thick through here. But this is the area. That was a funny thing, is where it happened was only a short distance from where our tents were that night. And my son, who is now 32, was 15 at the time. And he did not want to spend the night in the tent that night. I finally coaxed him into it. It was late May when we were here that time. And that night about 1 a.m. we got in from walking around, and the frogs were just deafening because it was wet. This is a very wet, marshy area. There's actually a beaver pond back in that direction if you walk far enough. About 100 yards wide and about a mile long. And well, first I'll start out with our story. We were walking back there with him, I, and a younger guy named Brett. He was from Minnesota. He was worked at a youth detention center. Real cool guy. He had all the tattoos and piercings and kind of a hipster, so my son took to him. That's interesting. There's some kind of a slide or track there. Not very big, but still interesting. So we were walking through here. We were kind of walking a straight line, and while we were checking out the stick structures, there was just a bunch of them. We were photographing. I got to figure out where that SD card ever went with those on there. Those are the best stick structures I've ever seen, period, of anywhere. So we were checking that stuff out, and here's an interesting one. And Brett he had wore glasses, and he kept squatting down looking that way into the woods. And I finally asked him, "What are you looking at?" He goes, "I could swear something's peeking out from behind the tree down over there." A lot of stick breaks in here. They're all older, but so I'm looking. I mean, I'm looking at 1,000 different trees, and here's an interesting formation. That's not natural. That's what I want to see. That is definitely not natural. Look how it's woven in there. This top right here is not from anything around here. There's something knocking over there. Maybe they're back. Look how that's interwoven. I mean, my goodness. That is not natural at all. They know I'm here. So, after about the third time, he says, I must be seeing things. And a few minutes later, we're talking. He does it again. He goes, I just seen it again. So I said, well, all right, well, let's walk that way. I said, there's that beaver pond back in there. I said, eventually, if we walk far enough, we're going to hit that. We can't go any farther. We were walking kind of a straight line. My son was on the very far right. Brett was on the middle, and I was on the left. We quickly lost sight of each other. It rained earlier that day, but it was sunny, mid-60s, beautiful day out at that point in the afternoon. And my son's name's DJ. And I hear Brent say, hey DJ, and there's no answer. I thought that was kind of unusual, so I hear Brett call him again, hey DJ, no answer. So I'm kind of getting perturbed. I'm like, I know he can hear him because we're not that far apart. We just lost visual. I go, DJ, no answer. I go, DJ, no answer. All of a sudden I hear my son go, come here now. Just a sound of panic. So I go booking over there. He's standing there just white as a ghost. Shaking. I mean, just shaking. And I go, what happened? He goes, I just seen one. I go, where? He goes, right here. He goes, I was walking along and I tripped on these sticks and fell to my knees. He said it was right in front of me right there. He said it was watching you guys. It didn't even see me, which is really unusual. He goes, I fell on my knees, it spun around and looked at me. He goes, it turned back to you guys, it turned back to me, and just walked away. There was a game trail there, so I went running down the game trail. And there was a fallen cedar tree, and I went right up that tree looking around, and I couldn't see nothing. Whoa, my ears just popped and everything just went quiet. That's always interesting. My ears don't generally pop. Something tells me there's a reason. So, the one he seen was a little taller than me. I'm 6'1". He said this one was about 6'4", 6'5", so it would have been what we call a teenager. That's the ones that usually come in to check people out. They're curious. Another broken tree. So, I think Matt Moneymaker was here on that expedition. So Matt and a bunch of other people. I wasn't a VFRO investigator yet. That year I became one, but they come and they measured everything and, you know, questioned my son, replayed the entire thing. So, but I've never had that kind of experience, but this place just has a different vibe to it. This place I don't get bad vibes from too. I mean, I know this is probably natural, but still interesting. But where we're going this evening, I just get a you shouldn't be here vibe. So that night we go in a tent. My son's like, I had a minivan at the time. He said, I want to sleep in a van. I said, no, you're fine. I said, I got a gun. Nothing's gonna happen. Remember, we're only a 200-300 yards from where he had his sighting. No, it's gonna be cold. You know, he's coming up with every excuse. I get it. I mean, that would be. We both came on an expedition with the assumption that nothing was going to happen. So, and you know, I can't remember the first day. I think it was second. That would be day number 2. He has a face-to-face encounter. So I finally talked him into coming in the tent. And the frogs were just deafening that night. You know, frog breeding season. And all of a sudden the frogs just went silent, which means there's something in the area. And I looked at him. I said, "Do you hear that?" He goes, "What?" And it's just pitch black. We can't even see each other. I said, "The frog just went quiet." I said, "That means there's something here." He goes, "Remember, he's 15. I don't really hear him swear at that point." He goes, "I just hear him go, oh shit," which still to this day makes me chuckle. So I unzipped the tent real slow and popped the night vision out, looked around. Pretty soon the frogs started chirping, but they were checking us out. No doubt about it. Now I gotta find the bike. There it is. I think they're still in this area. I really do. I laid off this area for a long time. After public expeditions, it just got too much pressure. That's why I don't put exact locations for places I go. This is very far eastern Marquette County, and that's all I'm gonna say. It's not because I'm trying to be a dick and like keep the place to myself, but this is their home. And I don't want people driving them out of their home. There's a reason they're here. They have everything they need. This is also one of the only areas where we found trackways in the snow at the middle of, I think it was February. 5-foot stride. They weren't real fresh, but you could tell what they were. You get a lot of snow here in the winter. I mean, it's nothing to have 4 feet on the ground. So, all right, there's our 2-track coming in. Got the truck tucked back into the trees a little. Here's the gate, and away we go. Really pisses me off when people throw shit like this out here. Fucking tires. People have been coming out here because there's grounds of war around the gate here from foot traffic. So alright. Got my jacket, which we'll need later. Parabolic mic. And let's go. I'll stop along the way and film. I'm not going to try to film and ride at the same time. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. We're just a short distance from the gate, but I think this is the area we used to camp in. We used to call this Shrew Camp. For those of you who don't know, a shrew is a small carnivorous little animal. It looks like a mouse, the size of a mouse. Except instead of a rodent, it's got very sharp canine teeth and has to consume something like 12 times its body weight every 24 hours because the metabolism's so high. But interesting little creatures. They only live like a year and a half because their body just burns up. But 2007, which I wasn't here for that one, they were walking down this 2-track and it wasn't nearly as overgrown. The U.S. Forest Service is just letting this road grow in and it'll be gone. So, but they were walking along at night and a guy got hit with a shrew. It come through the air. It was dead. So there's 2 possibilities with that one. One would be an owl dropped it, perched above, except it was whole, not eaten or bitten. The other one was it was thrown by something, which animals don't have hands. So ever since that incident, this has just been known as Shrew Camp. So this looks so different back in here with how grown up it's gotten. Was sitting here one afternoon. I don't remember the year. It had to be 09 or 10 maybe. There was a guy named Tom. Everybody else ran into town for supplies. We were sitting here in lawn chairs. We had our back to the woods here, facing the 2-track. He had a bicycling mirror strapped to his hat to look behind him, just to watch for activity. But completely calm day, no wind, sunny just like this. Somewhere right over in here, we heard a crack, 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 and this great big popple tree come down. We watched it fall. And it was completely alive, green. I'm trying to figure out, you know, that, I mean, I don't think this is part of it, but it's hard to say. Doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but it obviously is. So, I think 6 times now I've had trees pushed down. There's a tree break right there. And another one right there. Yeah, you gotta remember they get a lot of snow here, so. All right, onward. We used to camp right here. I've camped all over this area over the years. It used to be down the road farther, about a mile, mile and a half. There was a section of woods that the paper company owned. It was 685,000 acres. And we had a lot of activity down there, but they've since sold a lot of it off and it's been bought up. Now it's private, so. This section still U.S. Forest Service. Another interesting break right out into the road. And another one. All right. I'm going to pedal for a little ways. If I find something interesting, I'll check back. There's an interesting one coming along. And this tree blocking the path, bent over there, just as if to say, stay out. It's so thick through here. All right, this gives you an idea of just how grown up this has become. You can tell there's been foot traffic down this side of the 2-track here. Everything's matted down a little bit, so could be people baiting for bears. There's a ton of bears back in here. The largest bear track I've ever seen for a black bear was here, just a mile from here. It was way bigger than my hand. So yeah, definitely overgrown. There's a running creek. I've never seen that creek not run. So there's a good fresh water source for everything. Actually have a culvert going under the road. Looks like it's pretty much collapsed, but just dead quiet back in here. Don't hear any birds, you don't hear nothing. Alright, onward. And here's another second spring, or creek I should say. Alright. Quite a ways back here. I've been pedaling, so shouldn't have too much farther to go though. Alright, I have arrived at the destination. This is just a tiny, tiny clearing. 20 yards in diameter. 2-track continues that way for about 30 yards and just stops. So There's just no bird sounds, no nothing out here. Dead quiet. I don't remember what year it was. 08, 09, 10, somewhere in there. I chose this location because I don't get like creeped out. Nothing really bothers me. I mean, I can go to haunted houses, do ghost stuff, and I mean, that stuff doesn't even faze me. Bigfoot stuff, I mean, but something about this spot, just I always feel like I shouldn't be here. So that's why I chose to come here. But during a BFRO investigation, 08, 9, 10, somewhere in there, they all run together. There was two guys come, and the truck's parked that way about a mile and a half. Bernie says it's less than that. He's full of shit. So, they had a little Ford Ranger with a small, I think it was a pop-up, some kind of tiny little camper behind him anyways. Barely big enough to get two people into. So they came down here and parked for the night, and in the morning they come back out and they stated that it sounded like chimpanzees or gorillas circling them down in here. So they got spooked and set up camp somewhere else. They're the only two I know of that actually camped down in here. There may have been more, but it's the only two I can remember. So we would walk this during expeditions, but nobody ever stayed back in here. Right now there's just a whole lot of nothing in every direction, so maybe that's part of it too. There's one way in, one way out. So I'm gonna get set up before it gets dark. I just broke out the parabolic mic just because it was so quiet. And there's a 2-track coming in that direction, which would be more or less east. Just picked up 3 distinct knocks. They were quite a ways away. I don't hear anything else. It was just a bam, bam, bam. So, right now 6 p.m. Been here about 25 minutes. Get equipment ready and prepare for the darkness. All right. I walked over there right after I left the camera this last time. I could hear something walking through the woods over there. It's like, grab the parabolic mic again. And I just got a clear, distinct knock over that way. I honestly never thought that never thought we'd get activity till after dark, but I was wrong. This is going to be an interesting evening. So I'm just going to stand here for a little bit and listen. camera's gonna pick it up, but got a deer snorting over that way. He either heard me or winded me. It is 7:15. Other than the initial knocks and sounds, there's been nothing. So just sitting here chilling, waiting for dark. All right, it is almost 8 o'clock. I've got something walking around over there. I've got something walking around over there. I've got something walking around over there. One over there definitely sounds bipedal. I've had 4 wood knocks in that direction. I had the parabolic mic out with headphones. I could hear it. They were distant, but they were definitely hard knocks. They weren't a woodpecker. Bird sounds have come back. I had a deer snorting that way a while ago. So I can hear it right now. It's just so thick in here. Even with I just ran the thermal. I can't see nothing through there. So I'm hoping when it gets dark out, they get a little more brazen and come closer. Brought the drone, but goddamn, it's damn near impossible to launch a drone in here. So you wouldn't be able to see anything anyways with all the foliage. With the 2-track coming in here, it's basically just a tunnel. That's it up there. So, but I got night vision, got thermal, got all kinds of different lights. So got a sound recorder going. Got my parabolic mic. So should be good. This area here, the family or families that live out this way, they seem to come in closer to people than most family groups do. So they've come real close to us before in years past. So it'll be interesting. The juveniles are the ones that are usually the curious ones. Adults tend to stand back and just watch, kind of supervise the juveniles screwing with humans. So we'll see. It is 8:10. Something large just went crashing that way. Let's see, that would be east. So it is southeast. Could have been a deer. I mean, it's hard to say, but it's at least deer size. Had sounds like bipedal walking over that way earlier. I've had something walking over this way, something walking over that way. Had a deer snorting over that way earlier. Let's walk up this way, see what we see or hear. I swore I just seen something move over there. It's just so thick. There's a shit ton of bear out here. So with the fire going and me making noise, I just find it hard to believe a bear would be around here. Whatever it was is right through here. Oh, pick up some sticks for the fire. I think one of the things I don't like about this location is just the fact that if you need a speedy exit, there isn't one. It's pretty much all uphill slope back to the truck. There's several trees down, so I can't just pedal. I pedal over the smaller ones, but with a mountain bike. But there's a bunch of trees bent there. Well, it is now dark out, and I got something moving around over here. There's all kinds of wildlife out here, though. Bears, wolves, mountain lions, deer, and of course Sasquatch. If I can line this up, take a peek through night vision. Oh, good Lord. There we go. Maybe. The trail out is that way, that dark tunnel. A little over a mile. Parked the truck at the gate and we mountain biked in. So a lot of down trees on the way in though, so it's a slow go. Some of them you hop over with the bike and keep going, but some of them you had to stop and get up and lift it over. I got something breaking branches over that way. Now we got an owl going off. Whoever's breaking branches, I think, is trying to sneak up here, so keep looking on thermal. I got nothing. It is just so thick here, though. It's a barred owl. Well, I wandered down a trail a little ways to the creek. This is what I can see with the naked eye. Yeah, throw it through night vision. If I can line it up. Right there's a creek. Here, little animals rustling. I mean, keep looking through thermal, through night vision. The way the night started out, I mean, it was still light out. I was like, holy shit, it's going to get crazy when it gets dark, but so far nothing. Heard some coyotes in the distance. All right, it is about 2:30 in the morning. There's animal life around me. I mean, I could hear it moving, but got owls hooting. But early on, before it was even dark, we had the wood knocks and things are getting crazy. But I keep hearing movement over that direction. But I've hit it umpteen times with thermal, night vision. I'm getting nothing. We got about 1.25 miles out of here, so fire's completely gone. Door pour some water over it. We'll slowly make our way out and see what happens. Not sure how well it's going to show up on camera, but it just amazes me. I've seen this guy from way back there. How a spider's eyes reflect light. I've seen those eyes reflecting from 30 feet back. There, maybe that's getting it. They really glisten. So you can only see spiders if their eyes are facing you. They light right up. Yeah, just pedaling out of here. Took a break just to listen, but just dead quiet, other than a couple owls. Cooled right now. It's gotta be in the 40s. Feels good. Definitely had things moving around me down there, but couldn't get nothing on thermal or night vision. So all we could say is inconclusive. I 100% believe they're still here. Alright. Let's pedal on to the truck. So we made it back to the truck. Cooled right off down to mid-40s. Beautiful night out. Yeah, all the activity just kind of quit, so I'm heading home. I'm going to try to get an hour or two of sleep anyways before it gets light out. There was definitely large things moving around out there, but I could not get a hit on thermal. But it's just so thick. But the important lesson of this is there's a spot I always just creep me out. Got bad vibes and just yeah, just never felt comfortable there. So I forced myself to go there. I was fine. Had no bad vibes. I mean, even when I had things circling me. So, moral of the story is just face your fears. I think the thing that gets me about that spot more than anything is one way in, one way out. And the trail in and out is just closed right up to where, I mean, you're just, the thick stuff's right up against you the whole time, so. But I was adequately armed, and I was just fine. I'd go do it again. In fact, I probably will. So, alright, I'm gonna head home. Peace out, people. Squatch on.